Alright guys, what's going on? Today we're just going to be talking about spawn topics. Could be a little late, most of the country is pretty late, but I know for a lot of you guys you're just getting into fishing, rolling up on beds and whatnot. So for me, spawn kind of started in January. Most of the fish I'm catching on beds now are males, fry garters, things like that. So basically I just want to talk about baits that I throw in the spawn. I'm a very confident sight fisherman. I love it. It's my favorite way of fishing, and I think it's one of my strongest techniques of fishing is sight fishing. So I just really want to take some time out, talk to you about how I sight fish, my favorite methods, all that kind of stuff, and all my tools and tips that I have for you guys to go out and try. So really what we're going to talk about is baits, less generic baits, rods, reels that I throw, line, hook, all that good stuff. So I'm going to start here with kind of your most basic stuff. A lot of people say throw a small crawfish bait or Cinco type stuff. Yeah, it's pretty good. I've always done pretty decent with stuff like that. So the first two lines are here. Is a 4-inch Cinco and a 5-inch Cinco. Now you use a 4-inch. What I always do is I'm always wacky rigging. I'm never Texas rigging a Cinco. I'm always wacky rigging on a small, one odd wide gap hook, and it drives them crazy. I'm always throwing weightless. Even if I'm fishing a bed that's 8 foot down in the water, I still go for that weightless approach. I just feel once I can put that bait on that bed, I feel like I have more control of it. I just feel like the fish gets more irritated with it slowly dropping past their nose. So I've got a bubblegum color and a white shad color. Usually I'll just stick with pink and white. This white shad I just bought. It was just something different. So baits number one, just 4 and 5-inch Cincos, wacky rigged. The next one, you're going for your small crawfish type bait, creature type bait that you can put a little 1-odd wide gap hook into, and like an 1/8 ounce or maybe up to a 1/4 ounce weight. So what that is, this is the Evolve Vibra, or Evolve Vibra. This is the Evolve Compact Crawl. It's a little 3.5-inch crawl bait, and this thing is awesome for not only punching and flipping heavy mats, but a spawn fishing bait. It's just a small little creature bait, throw it on a 1-odd wide gap, and just a small little weight, and just let that thing nose dive into the bait to get a lot of big fish that pick that bait up. So that's another good small creature bait technique to be flipping. And before I get into my main topic, I just want to talk about less generic versions. A lot of times later in the year, fish are going to be stuck dead solid to their beds. In the beginning of the year, they're kind of, the more, I wouldn't say lethargic on the bed, like skitterish. They're a lot more skitterish on the bed. They're going to be flying off the bed as soon as they see you coming, they're gone. They're not going to be sitting there looking at you, or they really have nothing to protect early in the season until they lay their eggs. So later in the season, after the females move off, you can still catch males left and right like I'm doing right now. And one of the best ways to do it is, because they're guarding their fry, is grabbing a little shallow diving, square bill crankbait and just reeling it a foot, 2 feet under the surface, or however many depth you need, but for the most part, they're pretty shallow. And just taking that, throwing in, 15-pound line and just speeding it through. And a lot of those fish are going to come thinking it's a bait that's a threat to their fry, and they're going to smack that crankbait. So it's not obviously not the greatest thing if you're fishing beds around cover, but open water, clear water lakes where you can actually see the male and you can just drive that crankbait right by that bed, it's an awesome technique. I've caught a lot of fish doing that. And the next one is taking, a swim bait, and you can even reel it on the surface and get those fish to explode, aggressive attacks on it, or even just slow roll underwater. So what I like to do is take the Evolve Dark Star Swimmer in a natural color, like a little blue shad glitter right here, and just throwing that on a 6-odd extra wide gap hook and just reeling it slowly. 65-pound braid, and you just stick those fish, bring them in. This thing's got an awesome wide tail thumb, awesome action. And like I said, you can roll this thing across the surface, make it bubble on top, and the fish will come up and explode on it. Or you just chuck it out, and just like I said, if you can see the bed, slow roll it right past that bed. See if you can get that fish to smack on it thinking it's a threat. So two very less generic versions, but baits that definitely destroy on the bed. My last one is pretty much my go-to bait when I'm fishing beds. It's the first thing I pull out when I see a fish on a bed, and it's the first bait I start with, and usually what I'll catch a fish on. And that is a 6-inch white lizard. Company doesn't care, particularly I buy the Zoom lizards. I don't really have a company that I relate to buy lizards. If I'm buying worms and flukes and whatnot, it's a different company. But the Zoom lizard is at my Bass Pro for like $2.19 a bag, so you get like a 10-pack, and that right there is just money. White lizard, and I always take a 4-odd wide gap hook, and I'm always flipping this thing weightless. It is a light bait. It takes a lot of patience to fish it on a bed because it takes so dang long to float down, to sink down. but it's my favorite technique. See, this one's all torn up from fishing it, and you just fish it just like that, weightless, and you just let it drop down. And what I like to do is get this down and put it right on that big female's nose, right on her nose, and tap her in it, and eventually she's going to pick it up. Most of the time it's got so much tail that she picks up the tail and just kind of moves it, but if you keep tapping her in the nose or keep messing around with her and find that money spot on a bed, because, you know, females always have that money spot on their bed where they're going to be laying their eggs, or for whatever reason they do not want an object on that part of the bed. So what they'll do is, if you can find that money spot where that fish is real aggressive, you'll see her turn around, pick up the bait, or even where you'll catch her on it. And if you can find that money spot, you're almost guaranteed every single time when you drop a bait down that fish is going to bite. So my first technique, you just grab that, let it drop down, nudge her in the nose. If that doesn't work, just flip around that bed and just try to keep it on the bed as long as you can until you find that spot. But you know, that's what I've caught probably, I'd say 80% of the fish on, next to that vibra grub, but 80% of the fish on this white lizard just weightless like that, and that's my favorite technique. So rods and reels I've been using for more, you know, dirty water applications or like bigger fish, what I'll do is just take out the Co-Matrix 2.5. This is 7.6 extra heavy with 65-pound braid on a Daiwa Zillion with a fast action and 7:3:1 gear ratio. And this thing I'm using with the vibra grub and the Sinkos, things that have a little bit more weight than that lizard, and for bigger fish, for obvious reasons, a bigger rod. And I can horse fish with this. I can get into the boat plenty full so quickly, and it's just a rod that I don't mess around with. If I've got a fish that's going double digits on a bed, this is the sweetheart I'm taking out. Now for more clear water applications, say I'm bed fishing the Conway chain or the Butler chain of legs, I'm taking the Co-Matrix 2.0. That's a 7-foot heavy action rod with a Lew's Pro Speed spool on it with 15-pound fluorocarbon. No stretch, shock resistant, all that good stuff. Not to mention its visibility is next to none in the water. And same thing, this is what I really use when fishing the lizard. It's a lighter rod, the fluorocarbon helps it sink down, and it's just a good all-out application for clear water. So that's what I have that rigged up for, and these are pretty much my two basic rods I use for sight fishing. You really don't need to go too crazy. You don't need to go and buy rods specifically for sight fishing. Just these are rods that I've used for other baits that I found useful in sight fishing, and the two rods that I prefer to use. So guys, those are probably the 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 baits that I kind of kick it to and stick with when sight fishing. I mean, you can use any bait. When you've got a fish that's mashed on a bed and it's pretty much going to bite anything, it's going to bite anything. It doesn't want anything on its bed. But a lot of the time, you really got to be patient and work a fish. I'm talking 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe even an hour long to try to get that fish to bite if it's worth it. If you're in a tournament and you got a 12-pounder that's sitting there right on a bed, you're going to want to catch it. So, you know, you just find your confident techniques. White lizard, I'm telling you, drop that on a freaking bed and they are money, biting it every time. If you have any questions on sight fishing, let me know. Here's a video following this right here. That was just a couple of fish I've caught sight fishing this year. The camera angles kind of suck because I don't have the hat camera with me right now, and I didn't have a cameraman, so I was just kind of using a shoe on the ground as an angle. So the angles kind of suck, but it kind of gives you an indication of the fish that I'm catching nowadays on Finally caught a fish on this bed. Been working it for about 15 minutes now. He's about a 4-pounder, easy. Baits I was switching through were a lizard, a young tube, and an evolve compact crawl. A compact crawl got me a bite. He picked it up and let it go. So then what I eventually did was wacky rig a lizard, and he finally took it. It took him a while. Easy 4-pounder, Zillion, and Aris Co-Matrix. Nice fish though. Easy 4 pounds. Again, on a white lizard. It's a nice fish. Get him released. We'll release him away from the bed. Here we go. Nice 4-pounder. See where. Alright. There's another one. All sorts of beat up, my god. Another. Just on a lizard. Hooked him in the top of the jaw perfectly. Got a lot of beat up marks on him though. Little red marks and stuff. Just another one. I actually caught that one on a bed. Right out there. It's right off the sewer pipe. Same setup, just the arrows and the co-matrix. I mean, that's a flipping stick. That's a 7.6, extra heavy. You're not missing anything, you're not losing anything. And just on a white lizard, killing them on that today. That's 2. Pretty quickly too, only been out here for about 20 minutes, fished 2 beds, that one hit on the first drop, so every once in a while you get that, you get a fish that hits on the first drop, so nice. I'm sorry guys, my ankles probably suck today, but there's another one. I got a 4-pounder. Like I said, my ankles probably suck. Don't have a hat cam or anything right now, so I'm just leaning on my shoe. So, another nice fish. Just flipped a lizard out there, and same thing, first drop. Another first drop fish. Another 4-pounder too. One more left. Get him released right here. There's a decent one. Nice fish. Another nice one. Just caught right under the shade of this tree here, and bed I didn't even see. I actually saw this fish go up on minnows and chasing bluegill and whatnot off. He's the male, and he's just probably protecting his fry. Just slammed him, so get him back. There he goes. Another little stubby male, about a 12, 13, 14 incher. Nice one. Another little stubby male, about a 12, 13, 14 incher. Nice one. We caught a lot of males on beds today. For the most part, the females have moved off the beds. They're gone. They are no longer to be seen. They've swept out deeper water. But a lot of these waters around here in Central Florida, most of our spawn starts in about January. So you get a lot of the bigger fish up on the beds starting about January. As soon as those cold fronts start to come in, fish can still move up with the moon phases and everything. So they're moving up, they're bedding. This time of the year, in the smaller bodies of water that I still have access to and can still fish, there's still males everywhere, guarding their fry, doing everything, protecting the bed, doing everything they need to do for the spawn. And they're easy to catch. And I mean, not so much that you can just go out there, throw anything at them and they're going to bite it, to the point where they're so protective and defendant of that bed and or fry that they're going to bite anything that they feel is invasive to their lifestyle. And what I was doing today is taking a soft watermelon colored jerkbait on a 4-aught, just an extra wide gap hook, and I was just throwing 15-pound fluorocarbon. What I was doing is walking up and down the shore, either seeing where the beds were at, the males were at when they would skirt, or I'd actually watch and see if they'd come up and blast bluegill or bait that were on top of their beds. So that's what I was doing. If I saw them chase a bluegill off their bed, I'd back off a little bit, 20, 30 feet, and I'd cast it where I saw them spook at that bluegill. And I'd cast that jerkbait on top, twitch it on top, and then let it sink down. For the most part, you watch your line, you can see it jump, and for a lot of the time, fish are just whacking this jerkbait all over the place. And the other part is sight fishing. You can just go up to a bed and literally flip it to them and see what they're going to do with it. I was using the Lew's Pro Speed spool. Like I said, 15-pound fluorocarbon and the Co-Matrix 2.0. This is a 7-foot heavy, awesome rod, awesome sensitivity, great backbone. And I had a good time, caught a lot of fish today. And just kind of getting a compilation to you guys of all the spawning fish we've caught. It's going to be a big video, really cool. Really only caught one big fish that was over 7 pounds, but other than that, we caught numerous amounts of fish on beds this year. Lots of sight fishing involved, and it's great fun. I mean, this is my favorite way of fishing. Besides topwater, this time of the year, I love it. It's the most fun I could have. So, another day in paradise, just fishing out here on the spawn, and try to get a lot more bigger fish to you guys. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned to other videos. See you later, guys.